I had some discussion with some of our listeners the other day about the nature of this particular trade, how it was done. And there are some very clever things that I explained to one of them, that there's a certain way to understand the square principle to know that the market's going to be running past important levels and therefore completing these important, more distant price targets. One of the things that I've noticed about people is that once, not in every case, but in a lot of cases, once they have basic ideas in their mind about how markets work, if you show them a new principle for how markets work, sometimes it's difficult to get that new idea in their head in a workable way, because it might be counter to other ideas that are more far-reaching, going back to the very beginning of their understanding of the market. Like, as an example, if somebody is obsessed, I mean, I'm just using this as an example, I'm not saying anybody that I know does this, but if somebody was obsessed with the number of contracts that are traded and believe that the number of contracts traded in a period of a minute or a 5-minute bar or a 15 or 60-minute bar or whatever, that if they're obsessed with the idea that the real meaning of the market is hidden in the number of contracts traded, if that really is their base point for how they think the market works, then new ideas won't really germinate in their head very well, because they're always going to be reverting back to the basic idea that the number of contracts traded is what determines certain things happening in the market. So that will always be the main center point. If anybody has learned the square principle and in doing so has trouble absorbing it, I would suggest that you take a look at what your most fundamental beliefs about the market are. There's nothing wrong with believing whatever you might want to believe about the market. It just may not actually be that useful to you. But once you believe something, it sort of kind of goes underground and you believe it. You know, if something goes to the 100% level, then it goes, things that are not at the 100% level, they can stay in your consciousness because they're not at the 100%. But once you believe something, this is just my take on things, once something, it no longer needs your conscious assistance to be there and have to be managed and so on. It goes underground. And that underground belief is what is running most of our lives. We've all come to conclusions, and those conclusions, if we believe them at the 100% level, they don't require conscious thought anymore, and they go beneath conscious thought. So if you've ever said to yourself, God, I can't believe I'm in the same situation, I get myself in this situation all the time, how am I here again in my life? Whatever it is, whether it's outside of trading or inside of trading, how do I always get myself in this situation? I can assure you that you came to a conclusion of some kind earlier in your life about yourself, and you completely swallowed it whole, and then it goes underground, and it doesn't require your conscious mind to operate. And it continues to operate, and it continues to dictate your day-to-day life, and you keep getting in the same situation again and again. So it is a good idea to go back and ask yourself questions about what do you believe about yourself. Like, as an example, and this is not a course on psychology here, this is a way of understanding just how your mind works. What your mind wants is 100% belief in something, because then your mind doesn't have to think about it, and it goes underground, and it's managed by the unconscious portion of your mind. The unconscious is not a mystery. If you watch your mind, what presently is unconscious will come to the surface. But we're not watching our mind. We're completely taken in with the world and what we see and the responses we have to the world. So that's what we're busy with. But actually, whatever is unconscious will come to the surface. And if you're watching, you'll see those ideas that once were mere ideas to you, but then at some point we believed them, and we believed them into the unconscious. We believe them 100%. It's only when you believe at the 100% level that it goes unconscious, and you no longer have to deal with it, but it is still there dictating your actions, even though you feel like you're 100% free. And I can tell you that there's no such thing as you being 100% free until you're free 100% of your unconscious conclusions, because those are what are running your life. You do have conscious desires and conscious actions that we take, but even many of those are based on the belief that has already gone underground. So it's a really good idea, just in general, to either believe or suspect that you might have swallowed a bunch of things, taken them in at 100% level sometime in your past, like a person saying, I'm not worthy of somebody's love, or I'm not worthy of having a nice life. At some point, if you came to that conclusion that that's who you are, and you totally believe it, you don't even have to think about it anymore. It's now gone underground. And your actions later in life will make damn sure that those very things are exactly what you experience, because you believe that, but unconsciously. So if you want to know, I'm not saying your unconscious is completely unavailable to you. It's there. In fact, much of it comes up quite often, but we're not looking at what happens in our own minds. Once you see those ideas come up and tell you, no, you can't do that, you're not worth having that girl, or you're not worth a life where you are comfortable. Once you see that idea come up and you catch it in the act of telling you what it is all about, then you start to become free of it. You don't even have to do anything other than catch it. Ooh, look at that. There was the idea. It's like a flashing sign that just flashes right by you. Remember in the old days, we used to have sub-propaganda on TV commercials. Do you go back and remember this? They used to have a TV commercial and they would flash real fast something, a word like feel good, or, life is great, or something like that. But it would only be on one frame. And consciously, you didn't catch it. But your mind and eyes did actually see it, and it gets into you. And that's, I forgot what the real term for it is. I call it sub-propaganda. But that used to be a big thing. And I think they outlawed the thing of flashing fast subliminal messages on TV. But listen, that's how our mind works. That idea that you're not worthy flashes up real fast and then goes away, and it leaves you with the feeling that you should be acting in such a way that you're not worthy of that life, or you shouldn't be living that life, or whatever the thing is. So the only way to catch that on TV is to slow the picture down. And then suddenly you can slow down and see the frame come up and the frame goes away, telling you to love their product or whatever it is. It's just like that with your mind. So this has been a big thing with me, because I've noticed, and I did catch on a number of occasions, old ideas that I had completely believed coming up and telling me that I was or wasn't this or that or the other thing. And that's when I knew for sure that this was happening. And all of this that I'm telling you comes from the teacher that I have told you about, my teacher in life, Vernon Howard. So all of this is part of that work. And when you do this and you become free of an unconscious belief, you feel much better, because it's not vibrating and dictating to you what to think, when to think it, what to do. What if in your mind you want to become a investor, but what if in your mind somewhere down there many years ago you swallowed the belief whole that you shouldn't have this kind of life, the kind of life where you might be ahead and you might be able to have a decent life? What if that's operating? What do you think that's going to do potentially to your efforts and attempts to do well? So it is a good idea to study your own mind, because in those flashing images are the unconscious coming up to tell you what to do. The unconscious isn't a mystery if you're watching. It's only a mystery if you want to talk about it as a mystery. And as a matter of fact, once you believe it 100% that your unconscious is a mystery, then every time you try to think about what to do about the mystery of your unconscious, your mind will very quietly whisper, it's a mystery, because you already believed it. It comes up, the very idea comes up to dissuade you from going any further, because you've believed it 100%.